baseball. So
Yeah,
here you have
Cardinals.
here you have a city that pretty much always has a pretty decent hockey team. So I mean, you're going to be an over 500 team on an over 500 team if you sign a contract there because okay, you got Ken Hitchcock, who's a good coach. He's proven, and now I mean, over the past couple of years, they're just one of those big-bodied teams that are very difficult and frustrating to play against. They're the Bruins of the West, as many people have said. So you have a chance out there, and they never seem to like completely flame out like the Sharks do in the playoffs. They just kind of always run up against the freaking Blackhawks. So
yeah, that is the
Yeah.
kryptonite.
it really is. So if they get the right matchups in the playoffs, maybe things go their way for once. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Is it
But I got them
possible
at 4.
to get the right? Excuse me. Is it possible to get the right matchups in the Central Division? Like that is
I
the
don't know.
gauntlet of the National Hockey League.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so hard.
It's rough.
All right, so I don't think there's any way. I mean, you could basically flip a coin, and most times, so it's going to be Chicago coming out of that division, but it is pretty tough. Who do you have at 3, Andy?
I got Anaheim there. I think they've gotten maybe 9 or 10 points in their last 11 games or something like that, and I think they got a big game against the Blackhawks on Black Friday, so that'll be a lot of fun to watch. But this team, I mean, everybody thought John Gibson was going to be the guy in there, and Frederik Andersen has ended up being the guy with Gibson, his injury, and they sent him down to the AHL for a little bit, play a couple games down there. But Frederik Andersen has been really good, 9-2-4 record. He's got a 2.10 goals against. He's been doing really well. Sami Vatanen having a good year, and obviously they got the big guns in Getzlaf, Perry, and Kessler, so they've all been pretty impressive. So that's obviously a team that everybody saw to be in the top 3. So yeah, I got them at number 3, just ahead of the Penguins right now.
Anaheim's one of those cool teams. I mean, if you just look at recent history of their goaltending, I mean, you have Jaguar, you have Brizgalov, you have Hiller, you have Anderson, you have Gibson. They've always seemed to have a really good goalie prospect pool, and whoever is scouting for that position for the Anaheim Ducks has done an amazing job. So I mean, you're plugging guys in, and they're all doing great. So whatever they're doing, they need to keep that up. But really solid team out there in Anaheim. So where are we? 3?
That was 3,
yes.
yeah. Anaheim,
that was
yeah.
3. I've got Nashville at 3. I'm crazy impressed with this team right now, and I think there's a little bit of the 2009 Penguins kind of within that team. If you look at the years and years and years of playing that defensive style, Barry Trotz style of freaking hockey, where it's just like, okay, boring out of your mind, but you're just choking people out. They still have some of that. And what Laviolette's been able to do is open them up a bit offensively to where they could kind of have a much better goal differential than they've had in the past. So they still need a few pieces. They're not a great offensive team. James Neal helps immensely there. But if they can get 1 or 2 pieces to help round out offensively that team, that could be a pretty scary team going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and Philip Forsberg, how great has he been for that team
He's
this
been
year?
amazing.
Yeah, it's been a big
What were the
difference.
Capitals thinking?
They weren't thinking.
No, they weren't. All right, so it leaves us at 2 and 1 left. So who do we have at 2, Andy?
That's where I got the St. Louis Blues. I mean, some people may think that's a bit high, but they're 14-6-1, and we talked about, or you guys talked about their depth down the middle, and they just got a ton of great young players right now, and that's a really, really impressive team. And yeah, they're kind of, not a lot of people talk about them, but you can't deny that they've had a really good year so far this year, and so I'm going to go with them with number 2.
Going with Pittsburgh at number 2. I've been also impressed with what they've been able to do with a lot of adversity all year. I mean, with Ole Mata having cancer, with the Pascal Dupuis blood clot, now he's going to be out for a while. Already having a top 6 that was actually a top 5-ish, 4 or 5, and now they're basically a top 3 or 4. They've been able to make things happen basically because they've got, a great third line, and you still have Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Marc-Andre Fleury. And anytime you have those 3 guys, you're going to have a chance to do pretty well. But they've been able to, go through a lot of adversity, and they've actually been the biggest jump from last month, from October's power rankings. We had them at like 9 and 10, respectively. And to be up in that top 3 right now, that's saying a lot about how Mike Johnston's got this team kind of ready. So, hey, kudos to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like we have the same number 1, which is a team that I never thought I'd pick at number 1.
Yeah, right. I mean, you see the crest, and you think, 500 team, but they're legit. They're the real deal.
I don't even think they made our power
Garth
rankings
Snow might be an accidental genius with the additions to Seidenberg
I like those trades from the beginning. Boychuk and Leddy, those are 2.
Boychuk and Leddy. I'm sorry, I said Seidenberg. My bad.
Yeah, really good defensemen there. And obviously, we're talking about the New York Islanders. And the games against the Penguins were big tests for them, and they took care of the Penguins.
What makes me think that Garth Snow is an accidental genius, kind of sarcastically saying that, but this guy knew, and I would like to at least think he knew, that there were a lot of teams really up against the cap that needed to get under.
Yeah.
And he waited out the summer to the very last minute, and he got the deals he wanted, and they've improved his team immensely. Because they've already had a pretty nice team, anytime you have Travers, that's a great start. I mean, Okposo's a fine player. But now, even Halak, that was a great signing.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, because, the past few years, they really haven't had that goaltender, that big-time goaltender, and Halak has been everything for them this season. So, yeah, I mean.
It's coming up for roses in Long Island, and it's kind of fun because next year, they're in Brooklyn.
That's right.
And they're going to have a pretty darn nice team to play in that freaking spectacular arena.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they've been spectacular. And, they seem to be playing a little bit more of a, more structured game, probably. Last few years, you didn't really know what to expect from these guys, but they seem to be, a little bit more open and more structured this season. That's really helped them out, and Jack Capuano deserves some credit too. He's done a great job with this team. There's no doubt about that. So we got the Islanders at number 1. Never thought I'd say that.
I know. I might coin the phrase accidental genius.
Hey, Garth Snow's job was on the line, and I guess he did a pretty good job so far.
Ken.
No.
Ken,
no
thoughts.
No.
Look. No. Like the Islanders, I think, are going to be in the top 10.
Yeah, but right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying they'll stay.
We're not saying.
Okay, good.
Overall.
So we're setting some ground rules then. We're talking about what they've established so far. I'll still think maybe they're in my top 3. But I don't know about number 1 at this point. It's easy to say when you're coming off a weekend series with this team and what they've done, and they have a pretty impressive record against some of the teams in the East that you would consider to be the beasts of the East. But yeah, I have a hard time making them quite number 1 just yet. Give me another month of prolonged success from this team.
Yeah, we'll see.
Nice little 4-game winning streak right now. I mean, beating Philadelphia 1-0 the other night, Pittsburgh twice. Tampa Bay, I mean, gave them a good shellacking after getting a good shellacking from Tampa Bay. So there's a lot of exciting hockey. Actually, the East has gotten a bad rap over the past couple of years because there have been so many just good teams out west. But right now, things are starting to shift a little bit. Tampa Bay is looking good. The Islanders are looking good. And all of a sudden, I mean, Boston's always going to be up there. Montreal's going to be up there. And team that's somewhat surprising to me this season, Florida. I think if they could get some pieces, they're underachieving. They've got a lot of good, exciting young talent. Still a couple years away, probably, but there's a lot of good, exciting players in the East, and there's a lot of good up and coming teams. I think Tampa Bay is going to be up there for years, and if they could keep Stamkos from going to Toronto, maybe there's some hope there up in to our friends up in the north. So we'll see. But right now, East is getting a bad rap, but it's not so bad.
Agreed. A lot of people thought the Pens were going to run away with the Metro. Doesn't look like it's going to be that way.
It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think the Islanders will be on their tails for the whole thing probably.
And that's good. Because if you don't feel challenged throughout the year, then whenever you do get challenged in the playoffs, then it all hits the fan. So getting a taste of it all year, I think just buckle up and be ready for it. So that's all you can do.
Shut up.
I didn't say anything about a baby.
You didn't say anything about a baby, but I refuse to buckle up for anybody. No authority can make me buckle up for this team.
Click it or frickin' ticket. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in to the PensNation radio show. Right?
Yeah. Glad we got that little driver safety tidbit there at the end.
I heard media.
We're all mad.
I heart media.
Yep. And if you miss any of our shows, don't worry about it. You can always subscribe on iTunes, like I said in the beginning of the show, for free. Or you can search iHeartRadio, the app, or the website with the keyword PensNation. So, let's get out of here. Adios, amigos!
Adios.
So why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
Hit it.